Welcome to DML Discovery Metal Legion. It is time for the top 20 death metal albums of 2022. I was going to make a top 10, but after looking at the death metal releases this year, I had to do a top 20. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. Let me know in comments below your favorite death metal album. Without further ado, let's get on with the top 20 death metal albums of 2022. So, coming at number 20, but still a very good album, is Embryo Development and that album Heresy of the Highest Order. If you like technical brutal death metal, you're going to really enjoy this. Some really enjoyable guitar work, not to mention the vocals are very brutal in tone. And the overall concept of the album is very interesting, talking about like aliens, sci-fi fiction, pretty political driven album as well. If you like some brutal technical death metal, or maybe even just brutal death metal, you're going to really enjoy this. The vocals are very guttural, they're very harsh, and they're very low in the lower register. But yeah, Heresy of the Highest Order is a pretty good album. Next up is a United States death metal band. We got none other than Wait, The End of Noise. First of all, the album cover is one of the best album covers of the year. Great progressive elements on this, and I do really enjoy the guitar solos. I love the pure emotion the vocalist provides throughout this. And overall, yeah, the album cover is absolutely amazing. Just the overall story the album cover is telling us. Time is wasting away, and he's trying to pick up the blood sand in order to reserve time. But yeah, Harsfirmal's fantastic song, I Climb Downhill, The End of Noise, the self-titled track is amazing as well. It's progressive, at times it does sound a bit like Opeth, you could say, but yeah, the production on this is very good. So yeah, definitely check out The End of Noise, Wait. It's very progressive, and at times it's quite technical with a few gentler elements on this, and it's quite an experimental album as well. So definitely check out Wait, The End of Noise. Next up is a UK death metal band, melodic death metal band. We got none other than Venom Prison. They released an album called Erobos. Now this album is absolutely fantastic. There are some chorish moments on this and unpredictable breakdowns, which at times questions whether this is metalcore or not. In my opinion, it's melodic death metal. The vocals are fantastic by Larissa Stupa, and the guitar work is quite technical as well. I do love the saturation of the guitars, and the bass is quite prominent, and there's some great songs like Judgments of the Underworld, Nemesis, I Am the Damaged One. Quite catchy as well. But yeah, there are some great guitar work on this, amazing scaling, good solos, and really good melodic death metal album, that's for sure. Venom Prism, Erobos sits here. One album I was expecting to see a little bit higher, but it's still a very good album. It's Bloodbath, Survival of the Sickest. Yes, this is a really good album, straightforward old school death metal production, grindy guitar work on this, enjoyable dirgy atmosphere as well, and Nick Holmes' vocals really shine on this album. Zombie Inferno is like a throwback to Zombie Ritual by Death. Got songs like Death Parade, Born Infernal is another fantastic song, Affliction of Extinction, No God Before Me. It's a very good death metal album, few black metal aesthetics along the way, but it more focuses on that old school death metal flavor. This is a straightforward death metal album. Good guitar riffs on this, quite catchy, quite melodic. Like Malignant Maggot Therapy, that riff is absolutely amazing. But yeah, Bloodbath Survival of the Sickest is a death metal album for 2022. Next up, we focus on a US band, Death Doom US band. We got none other than Relics of the Dead. Till nothing This is absolutely fantastic. It's crushingly heavy, this album. This reminds me of times like Autopsy and even Incantation, the older style. It's great, really crushing riffs. Was tempted to put Druid Lord in my Doom Metal albums video, but I feel like it focuses more on the death metal aesthetics on this. Mangled as the Hideous Feed. What a fucking fantastic song that is. Festering Tomb, Monarch Macabre. Just so many great songs on this album. The vocals are very guttural and deep. Druid Lord reminds me of Hooded Menace, to be honest, except Druid Lord is more death metal based than Hooded Menace, and this is why Druid Lord is in the best death metal albums of 2022, just because the overall sound is very murky, muddy. But yeah, Druid Lord, Relics of the Dead is a very good, dirty, slimy, atmospheric album. Next up is the War Leviathan. This French death metal band, oh, what an album this is. Running about 28 minutes, and this album just kicks goals with some black metal aesthetics on this. Focuses more on black and death metal, but the vocals on this are absolutely fucking brutal. This is quite an atmospheric death metal album as well, and the guitar work is just dizzying at times, quite riffy, and also quite dissonant as well. The instrumental arrangements are absolutely fantastic on this. The songwriting's really good. It's Institutionalized Hatred. That song is amazing. The chorus in Talos is so damn good, especially the cool riffage on that. Awesome syncopated riffs on this. Drumming is pulse-poundingly good as well. It's just very dark, atmospheric death metal, and at times they do incorporate elements of blackened death metal. But it's dark, it's gloomy, and it is absolutely tasty. Next up is a band called Tzompantli, and this is a US band. They've released an album called, an album I really can't pronounce. But yeah, what can I say? This is just brilliant. At times it's death doom, and then it transforms into death metal. There's some great slower passages on this. The riffs are very crushing. It also has a tribal element, some really cool death chants on this album as well. And yeah, the melodies are absolutely fantastic. Crushing guitar riffs on this. Just very good drumming. I also love the drum fills on this album, but there are some very heavy moments, and I do enjoy the lyrics talking about human sacrifice. This is just a fantastic death metal album with a few death doom flavors on this. There are some very slow moments, and some really cool build-ups to the song. Easily one of the innovative death metal albums of 2022. It's very experimental. The last song, which is like 8 minutes, is just wow, in your face, batshit crazy, but also some great slow passages. Next up is Undeath. It's time to rise from the grave. What a fantastic album this is. Some really cool riffs on this. At times it does remind me of Cannibal Corpse. The songwriting is absolutely fantastic. The vocals are very guttural, very dynamic sound, and there's a lot of saturation with the guitars, but the production has that old school death metal flavor. Defiled again is a really good song. Necrobionics, that guitar work is amazing. You get some head splattering solos on this. It's such a very fun album. I remember Legions of a Different Kind, again made into my best death metal albums video, I think, which was released in 2020. But yeah, It's Time to Rise from the Grave is just brilliant. It has more of a dynamic approach, in my opinion, than Legions of a Different Kind, and you can tell they are sort of going their separate ways, sounding a lot different to the other death metal bands out there. But yeah, the vocals on this are very brutal in tone, very guttural as well. Really love the deep registers. deep vocal registers. But yeah, what can I say? It's Time to Rise from the Grave is a fucking banger. Next up we go to melodic death metal, and it's none other than the Halo Effect and the album Days of the Loss. Now, Mikhail Stan is the vocalist on this. There are a few members from other bands such as In Flames as well. This album is so damn good. To summarize this album, it's an earworm. Melodic, catchy choruses like Shadow Mind. Synth work on this, the keyboards are absolutely fantastic. Great riffrages, at times it can be quite brutal in tone. And then the guitar work is absolutely amazing. You get some really cool solos on this. The vocals, Mikhail's vocals are absolutely fantastic. His vocal tone on this album, and yeah, this is such a fun album. Broken Trust is amazing. Shadow Minds, what a great song that is. Feel What I Believe. The Most Alone, this is easily one of the best melodic death metal albums of the year. It's probably up there to be the best melodic death metal album. Days of the Lost, the Halo Effect is an absolute banger. Go check it out. Next up we head to a US band. They focus more on Black and Death, but this is also a progressive death metal album. We got none other than Half All That Was Promised. What a great album this is. First of all, the album cover is fucking trippy. The album cover is amazing. Yeah, this is pretty progressive black and death metal. They do focus on the black metal aesthetic, especially with the vocals and the instrumentals, but at the same time they focus on the death metal aesthetics as well, which in my opinion, it is a black and death metal album. It's progressive, amazing solos on this. I love the bass work on this. It's quite a dark and atmospheric album. Great songs like Kenosis, Iosis. Desolation is an amazing song as well. It's just a brilliant album from start to finish with some many flourishing guitar work. And yeah, it's just terrific, dark, black and death metal that you guys really will enjoy. Yeah, doesn't sound anything like Behemoth or anything like that. It does have its progressive death metal roots, but with incorporating the atmosphere and dark melodies and tremolo pickings, you can tell that this is definitely black and death metal. And it is on the borderline of whether this should be in the best black metal albums video or whether this should be in the death metal albums video. But because of the riffs are more death metal, this is easily going to be in the best death metal albums video. So yeah, Half All That Was Promised is terrific. Next up is a Finnish death metal band. We got none other than Desolate Shrine, Fires of the Dying World. What a terrific album this is. Quite atmospheric, dark death metal, and they do incorporate elements of black metal. Again, we're talking about another black and death metal band. Just the vocal work is absolutely fantastic as well. Deep guttural growls with some high shrieks. Really cool guitar riffs on this. Drumming is unrelentless in tone. The production is quite dynamic as well. Desolate Shrine, Fires of the Dying World is absolutely fantastic. The Silent God, like 10-minute song. You got My Undivided Blood as well. The Furnace of Hope. Again, Desolate Shrine, our borderline where there's black metal or black and death metal, even death metal. But again, like Half, because of the riffs, the vocals are very death metal. Black and death metal, it may have elements of black metal, especially the sound, but it focuses more on the death metal because the vocals are the main star in my opinion. So yeah, Desolate Shrine, Fires of the Dying World, great atmosphere, black and death metal aesthetics. And yeah, it's just terrific. Next up is another US band, death metal band. We got Ripta Shreds and the album Jubian. Amazing guitar work on this, and the drumming is absolutely fantastic. Bass is quite prominent as well, and there are some awesome moments like in Solitude, Sun, Moon, Holy Cult Part 3. That 10-minute song is an absolute banger. It's a great solos on this. Production is very good and the vocals are amazing. You just want to listen to this album by looking at that fucking album cover. The album cover is fantastic. Great technical, progressive moments on this album. Just a cool atmospheric vibe. Another really enjoyable atmospheric death metal album. Ripta Shreds really kicks goals on this. It has many different flavors, dynamic approaches, and Rika Burning Freedom is an absolute banger. So yeah, Ripta Shreds Jubian. Go check it out if you haven't already. Okay, we are now in our final 10. Artificial Brain released a self-titled album, Artificial Brain. Production is incredibly raw in tone. The vocals are very aggressive. There's some really cool synth work on this, close to alien noises, which creates this very cosmic-like atmosphere. Some great progressive technical elements on this, dissonant at times, reminds a bit like Imperial Triumphant, and even ad nauseum, in my opinion, with an imperceptible impulse. Great songs like Glitch Cannon, A Lofty Grey, even Insects and Android Eyes, and The Last World of the Wobbling Sun. A lot of dissonant riffs on this. At times it does remind me a bit like Ulcerate as well. And yeah, it's quite dissonant, technical death metal, and easily one of the best albums of the year in my opinion. It's got some really cool cosmic vibes, quite atmospheric, even though the production is very raw sounding. And the production's not that crisp in my opinion. The production really holds its raw organicness. This album has more of an organic sound than a lot of death metal albums this year. So yeah, Artificial Brain is a fantastic death metal album. Alright, so next up we got the big one. Autopsy released an album called Morbidity, Triumphant. Sounds fantastic. It does remind me of, it does give you a throwback of Severed Survival and even Mental Funeral. The guitar is absolutely fantastic. Vocals are very guttural in tone, and you got some really cool bluesy vibes throughout the Voracious one. Amazing riffs throughout Flowing Strone Temple, Skin by Skin, Maggots in the Mirror. There are slow tempo moments, focuses more on those Death Doom aesthetics. Final Frost is an absolute banger of a song. Got songs like Your Eyes Will Turn to Dust. Just interesting, just really dirty death metal. Production, it has that old school death metal flavor as well. And yeah, not to mention the album cover looks fucking brutal. But yeah, Morbidity Triumphant by Autopsy is easily, in my opinion, one of the best death metal albums, just because the flow of it just sounds like death metal. A lot of bands these days are experimenting with different style genres. Autopsy sounds like Autopsy in my opinion. They incorporate death metal elements along with death doom, which makes it a great concoction mix of death and doom. So yeah, Autopsy, Morbidity Triumphant, such a really awesome dynamic album. Sits here. Next up is a Singapore band. We got none other than Oshiego and their album Jaljalut. I've shielded this band a few times just because of the riffs on this are absolutely fantastic. Just a really cool vocal work, quite a political driven album as well. The songwriting is very good on this. The guitars have this massive, humongous sound. And yeah, World of Demise is a great song. The Book of the Sun and Gnosis and the Subtleties of Elevated Things is such a great song. It's awesome. It's brutal at times. Cool vocals as well. Pulse pounding moments. Drums are spectacular. It's got some really awesome head turning moments. Oshiego Jaljalut is one of the best death metal albums of this year. Now we move on to some horror death metal. We are none other than Sentient Horror and the album Rites of Gore. First of all, the album cover looks fucking terrific. Every time I see this album cover of this corpse commanding other dead people, I just want to listen to this album. This at times reminds me of Cannibal Corpse. The riffs are absolutely fantastic on this. Cool bolt thrower-esque vibes, especially the riffs on this. Some great vocal work, and it's just such a fun album. The guitar solos are absolutely amazing. Cool rhythm guitars, aggressive vocals that are so damn good. Rites of Gore, what a fucking great song that is. Splitting Skulls, this song will split your skull in half once you're listening to it. The drumming's fantastic. The production's phenomenal. It really is. It's like old school sounding. It's a very old school sounding death metal album, but with a hint of modern production. So yeah, The Eyes of Dread is such a great song. This is a horrific and terrific album to sink your teeth in. Very gory death metal. Sentient horror. Rites of Gore is fantastic. Next up is a US band. We've got none other than Phobophilic and that album Enveloping Absurdity. Production on this is absolutely fantastic. The guitar work is just terrific, but the vocals are the main fucking star. The drum fills and just the overall atmosphere which guitars make. The panning between the guitars as well. Momentous vocals on this. The songwriting is terrific. Got songs like Those Which Stare Back. The cool staccato riffs on this. Nauseating Despair. There's the uplifting moments. The melodic flavors throughout Enveloping Absurdity is just so damn good. It's melodic, it's brutal, but it's also catchy if you got the death metal ears. If you just like very dark atmospheric death metal, you come to the right place. You're gonna really enjoy this album. It just has so many different layers on this. The production is phenomenal. The drumming has this really awesome tone to it, and yet there's nothing really much I can say. It's easily one of the best death metal albums of this year. Next up we go to US death metal band Maul and the album Seraphic Punishment. This album's so damn good, it really is. The vocals are just so good. I love the lower register he provides, but the main focus on the album is the songwriting. Songwriting is absolutely terrific. It's such a riffy death metal album. There are a few death doom flavors as well with slower passages, but holy shit, this album packs a punch. Seraphic Punishment is an absolute banger of immortality. Songs like Oracular Burial Grounds, what a great song that is. Carrion Totem, need I go on, every single song hits hard, and more Seraphic Punishment, easily one of the better death metal albums of this year. It's so damn fun, it's so damn good, it's so damn juicy, the production's fantastic. Again, it has an old school death metal flavor. The album cover is trippy as fuck. The Seraphic Punishment is amazing. The guitars are just dizzying at times with some great riffages. Reminds me a bit of Bolt Thrower. Also has a Bolt Thrower-esque vibe, but just how fun. More Seraphic Punishment, and I fucking love it. Oh my god, my camera's dying. Next up is Immolation, Acts of God. Already mentioned this album. This album's fantastic. This is sitting at number 2. Now, the production is absolutely fantastic. Fucking love it. Songs like An Act of God, The Age of No Light, the cool wrist strap, Derelict of Spirit, Need I Go On. Such a brilliant fucking album. Absolutely love it. The artwork is amazing as well. Drum work. At times it's quite dissonant. At times quite technical and progressive, but it works overall. Easily one of the best death metal albums of this year. Immolation, Acts of God sits at number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, coming at number 1, my number 1 death metal album of this year is none other than Aethereus and the album Leiden.
Brother, what more do you know?
Now, let me tell you a little story. I did actually have Aethereus Leiden throughout the best black and death metal albums of January, but this album has grown on me so damn much. I gave it a little break for a few months, but over the last few months, I've come back to it. Leiden is the best technical, progressive death metal album of 2022. It really is. this US band are quite innovative, quite experimental band. Now, first of all, the album cover looks amazing. It looks like a human is being born from a nebula. And again, it is very cosmic. There are some orchestral elements that are laid throughout this LP, and the overall production is fucking phenomenal. The drums have this huge, massive sound. The vocals have those black metal aesthetics, along with very guttural vocals as well. At times this reminds me of Cradle of Filth. At times it reminds me of Flesh God Apocalypse. At times it fucking reminds me of Necrophagus. The awesome guitar work on this, the amazing drumming, just the overall massive feel this album holds. Questy would say this is a very spacey album. Cosmic death metal, cosmic brutal death metal, cosmic technical dissonant death metal. This album has it all. Aberration is absolutely fantastic, just the symphonic elements that build. It is so damn good. At times this album reminds me of Flesh God Apocalypse with Son of the Nameless Father, which has a Flesh God Apocalypse sound, especially the orchestral elements. This is an awesome symphonic, technical, progressive death metal album. And if you haven't heard this already, this is my number fucking one. Endless Cycle Rebirth, what a fucking banger. Upon Infinite Seas, which is like 10 minutes, is amazing. It fucking is. Especially the fucking intro of it sort of reminds me a bit of Funeral Doom. The growls are just so damn majestic and epic in times. Such an epic death metal album this is. And Aethereus, Leiden, is my number one favorite death metal album of 2022. So yeah, let me know in the comments below your favorite death metal albums of this year. Next video will be the best black metal albums, so stick around for that. To keep discussion going in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.